The fear of death is probably the most fundamental fear we all face in being alive as humans. But the paradox is that the more intimate we become with the reality of death, the more we're able to truly live. What's up, you amazing human? My name is Ben Hart. In today's video, we're talking about the gift of death, how we can relate to death in a powerful way that allows us to really live with more courage, with more joy, with more presence, really have more aliveness in every moment of our life through fully facing death. If you dig this video, want to see more like it in the future, hit the subscribe button below. And if there's people out there in the world you think might benefit from this, hit the like button, leave a comment, it'll help them find the video. All right, so we're talking about death. Now, as I mentioned, death is probably the most fundamental fear we all face in being alive. You know, we are here, we're alive, we exist, and at some point, we're going to die. You know, at some point, we are going to die, and everyone we know, everyone we love is going to die. And that is super intense, super confronting, can be really scary, really sad. And because of that, so many of us turn away from that fact. You know, we turn away from death. Death is very scary to us. It means the loss of all we know. And with that, we try to pretend it's not going to happen. You know, we pretend it's not there. So many people walk around in life feeling like they're just going to live forever, you know, feeling like they're invincible. And, you know, there's a beauty to that of the desire to just, I'm alive and I'm going to focus on being alive, but it actually creates, you know, anything we resist persists. You know, anything we're pushing away actually has control over us. And anything we bring closer, if we're actually able to look at it, if we're actually able to deal with it, actually able to feel what we feel in relationship to death, it will reveal gifts for us. Everything that we push away, if we actually bring it closer, can reveal gifts to us if we're willing to. And with that, you know, what death offers is the preciousness of being alive. You know, when we really recognize death for what it is, like death, the fact that this life ends in death makes this life so much sweeter, makes every moment so much more precious, makes every time you look at your loved ones, every moment you share with them, that much more like significant, that much more deeply, deeply, deeply meaningful. And so, you know, the idea of meditating on death has been around for hundreds of years, thousands of years even. There's this notion of Memento Mori, which is Latin for remember you will die, remember death. And, you know, Seneca, the famous Stoic, wrote, like, meditate on death. Like, the Stoics talk a lot about death. So many traditions talk about death, like the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. Like, there's so much to be learned from actually embracing, actually fully turning toward the fact that we will die. Because in doing that, in remembering that we will die, we remember that we are alive. Right now, we are alive, and the gift of that, the preciousness of that, you know, so much of the bullshit gets taken away when we think about, okay, this is going to end at some point. So what does that mean for how I want to live my days? What does that mean for what I want to do and what I want to become and what I want to create and how I want to love people, how I want to relate to people? You know, so much gets essentialized to what's actually important when we remember that we will die. And so that can seem very, you know, morose. It can seem vulgar to like think about death a lot, but actually in doing it, it creates such a gift for presence and for true aliveness. You know, on my desk, I have a little skull that looks at me. When I sit down at my computer every day, there's a little skull there, and I just use it as my Memento Mori, as my little token to remember that I will die. And it's such a clarifying thing. You know, death is the ultimate teacher in many ways. And I really invite you to relate to it that way. Like, notice the fear you may have of thinking about your own death or the death of your loved ones. And it doesn't mean that you need to dwell on the fact that you're going to lose everyone, but it means to really bring that into your heart. Like, really feel the fact that that will happen someday. Someday you will cease to exist in this body in this way, and everyone you know and love will as well. And in letting that actually impact you and letting yourself actually feel that, your clarity of intent with every interaction will become so much more pristine, will be so much more strong in terms of who you actually are and what you actually want, because it will all be gone someday. And let that be a gift. Let that be that knowing, let that realization be a gift for how you live. One other thing I want to say about this is just, as we think about the gift of death, recognize that, it's almost a thought experiment you can do. And this came to me one day in a meditation where I was having this thought experiment of like, what would it be to live forever? Truly live forever, not just like 1,000 years or 2,000 years. Like, it'd be cool to like live a little bit longer and see what happens with civilization and take to the stars or see what we're able to create sustainably on this planet or whatever. Like, there's so much that will happen and unfold in human history that I would love to see. But the idea of living beyond 5,000 years, beyond 10,000 years, actually living forever, like if you actually contemplate that, if you live forever, at some point you will have done everything. You will have eaten every meal, you will have, had every experience, you will have traveled to every single place, you will have had every thought you could ever have, you will have created everything you could ever create. Like, truly in infinity, living forever, at some point you would want something new. You would want something novel. And in that, death is the ultimate mystery. Death is the ultimate end to this journey that we're able to perceive at this point, that allows this experience to end in such a awe-inspiring way. It's like your life, my life ends with death, and we have no idea what happens. We may have conjectures or ideas about it, but we don't actually know what happens at that point. And what a incredible gift that this journey ends with such a mystery. You could live forever and ever and ever, and at some point you would beg for death because you would just want something new, something novel, something mysterious, because you have done everything else. And so, that's a far out thought, but it is a way to embrace death as like a cool thing, as an awe-inspiring thing, as a miracle in some ways. It's like our existence ends in something we don't understand, and we don't get to know what it is until we get there. And yes, there'll be like fear of leaving the body, fear of losing this body, maybe we'll cease to exist, whatever your fear may be. Like, yes, that is valid and true, and I fully invite us all to like hold our fears about death close. Hold our personal fears about our own death and the fears of loss of everyone we love close. Like, let that teach us and let that bring us into deeper presence for what is here now. The gift of death allows us to live. Turn toward death. Let us meet death. Memento Mori. Remember, we will die. All right, my friend. Hope that was supportive for you. May you embrace death so that you may embrace life. If you dug this video, want to see more like it in the future, hit the subscribe button below. And again, if there's people out there you think would benefit from this, hit the like button, leave a comment. It'll help them find it. Until next time, much love.